Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
What she does is amazing. And I couldn't wait to get on here today based on even the conversation that we had seconds ago. And just let's start based on the session that I had with her a couple of weeks ago in terms of learning about all of this. Part of it is what's called psychomotive anatomy, where layman's terms, she can, if you have a pain somewhere in your body, she can tell you where it's most likely coming from, connected to your situation. And I don't mean, sports injuries and things like that, emotional situations, life, things like that. She's amazing. Excuse me, amazing at what she does. And she's back with us. She helps people heal all the time from literally all over the world. I mean, we've had people on here from other states and such. Her name is Marianne Hedges Hennigar. I would give you her qualifications, but for the first time, I'm going to let her do it. Hi, Marianne. How are you?
Hi, thank you for having me on, Steve. It's so good to see you.
You too. You too. So I know that in a former life, if you will, you were a massage therapist, but that was the springboard to the healing that you do now. I just met you in an elevator. We got, 15-second elevator speech. What do you do?
So I help people process life's challenges, and from little T traumas like falling off your tricycle at 3 to big T traumas, which would include loss, divorce, any things that all humans go through. They have their own things that they process through, or they might be stuck on. I help them process through with the body, mind, and spirit.
How do you process that? How do you help?
Well, first of all, it started out my understanding the relationship between body pain and sensation. As you mentioned, I was started out as a clinical sports massage therapist. So basically, I'm a troubleshooter to help people understand their pain and help them work with their body better within their sport of choice, or help them get over overuse injuries. I found out, though, through clients showing me by reporting their experience, because they all talk about themselves. And when you're working on a specific body part, I noticed patterns between specific kinds of experience and different kinds of pain, and that they were married to each other. And so as I progressed in my 30 years of practice with clients, which has now evolved into a form of talk processing or talk client care. I'm not allowed to call what I do therapy, although the work that I do with people has therapeutic effects. In other words, they feel better.
Right, right.
So now I use some very novel processes that are in the realm of body psychology combined with elements of neuroscience.
And I've experienced it. I won't go into detail at this point, but let's just say I told you I had a pain somewhere, and my friend had the same situation. And you identified based on where the pain was, what life was, what life was happening around me and he, and why we had the pain. And it was spot on. He's in a similar situation I am. Not necessarily sports injury, anything like that. It's more just stuff, life. I didn't give you any information either. And you just said, yeah, it's probably this. Mind blowing.
Yes,
How it
and
connects.
to be clear, because in the physician world, if I were just to tell you what it was, they would say you're leading the client, you're leading the patient. And that's not how I approach
You didn't.
exploring body pain. What I do is I say, generally clients have reported having, when they have one side or the other shoulder, that there's a life situation going on that in which they feel resentment. And I call it chip on the shoulder syndrome. It happens right in the pinion. And I said, depending on what side it is, whether it's right side, which usually has to do with a reaction to a feminine figure, the left side usually has to do with a reaction to a male figure. Is there a life situation going on for you right now in which you feel great resentment? And of course, people come up with their specific scenario as that fits their life. Why would I mention that? Well, I'm not doing it so that I can show how smart I am, because really it's your body that's smart. But I say these things, I mention these things that I've seen as patterns, because more often than not, the pain goes away if the pinpoint of the life experience is accurate. And in your case, what happened?
What? Okay, when you say what
What
happened,
happened to your body? You don't have to share your personal
no, no,
situations.
no, no.
As we pinpointed it, and you said,
It was accurate. It was accurate. And you didn't lead me on. All I said was pain here. You said, probably this. That's it. And this was accurate. Now let's go a couple of steps further. I had a session with you. We talked to people around the world here on this program. You just happened to be, 12 minutes away from where I live.
correct.
Wonderful. So I stopped in and you did a session with me. I can't even explain what you did. It was a little bit of hypnotherapy, and I guess I don't know. I sat there and just let you do what you did. All I had to do was stare at something, but the pain has subsided, and I've had it for 6 months. I've been to um, doctors. I've had sonograms. I've had MRIs. I've had physical therapy, of which I found out insurance wasn't paying for. So I stopped doing that. And I was like, yeah, let me just sit on that. Coincidence that after I saw you, I don't feel the pain? I don't think so because it
Right.
was there before.
And the main driver for why I've developed this theory of psycho-emotive anatomy, which it says just what it is. The reason why I developed it was to help people start to decode their pain so that when they're not in my office and they have a similar pain, they can ask themselves, am I having a life situation that I'm trying to either ignore or just live through or grin and bear it, or I'm going to just take some medicine to make the pain subside or go away? Instead of you having to do these old ideas, but you realize your body is talking to you and you recognize it, you can help with a great deal with your own personal pain, and you gain greater understanding of yourself, which is an amazing thing.
Is it possible to have, and we're going to move on from this, but I just want to find this one point out. Having pain from a physical situation, let's say a minor sports injury, but also a life situation in the same area, is it possible to have that going on at the same time?
It is very possible. And I can give you an example also in the reverse. So many years ago, this is 20 years ago, I had a client who came in reporting that their left ankle was hurting them. And in the course of interviewing them a little bit further about their history with the left ankle, and they didn't have an injury, it just started hurting a lot. And I said, well, left ankle very often has to do with a lack of support. And on the left side, it would be a lack of support from a male figure. And the client, all of a sudden said, well, I broke my ankle years ago when I was having an argument with my husband, stepped wrong going down the basement stairs and broke my ankle. My question was, are you having a similar problem with your spouse now? Why, yes, I am. And as we mentioned that, her ankle
Mhm.
pain went away. So there was an overlap between an injury and a lived experience. The injury happened to back up what she was feeling. Maybe that left ankle was more vulnerable naturally because of her lack of support, and therefore she was more likely to actually injure it.
Wow. Would it now, the ankle injury wasn't a result of the argument, it just happened to be during the argument.
Could have been more vulnerable.
Could have been, she was focusing on the argument, then fell. But fact remains that, and this is the layman in me explaining this, that she suffered a trauma based on a situation. And now there could be an association to a future situation, meaning the present, meaning an argument or some kind of disagreement with a spouse. And it just brought it back. Classic trigger.
So it's body memory, right? And so my job is to help people decode what their body's talking about in terms of their relationships and rehashing of old, small, and large traumas. And can we take those energies that remain in the body when we have not processed the harm, the trauma? Can we take that energy and release it so that that person no longer has to suffer emotionally and physically?
Gotcha. Gotcha. So we were gonna, you said seconds before we jumped in here that we were going to give a mini example of how this works, or at least the process works. Can we do that?
We can do a mini demo. So this part of what I'm going to show you comes out of my training in brain spotting. And that's all one word, just for the audience to know if they want to look up about brain spotting and the seminal work done by Dr. David Grand.
Hmm.
And so it uses a wand for me, because we're going to find a place where you're going to look, where we're going to help you process. And then I use colored spheres, which I asked the client to pick, and I'm holding up 6 spheres. There's a red, blue, yellow, fuchsia, purple, and green. And so, Steve, you just pick a color that you're drawn to.
Immediately as you went like that, blue.
Blue. So now I'm selecting the blue sphere, and these, for those who can't see us, but are in the listening audience, these are pencil toppers that are these spiky little rubber pencil toppers that I order on Amazon. So now I position the extended telescoping wand in front of Steve's field of vision. And now I'm going to adjust the position, and he is going to check in with how he's feeling physically in terms of anxiety feelings, or any type of feeling that might be a little bit more excitability physically. So, Steve, I'm going to come towards you and let you tell me when I'm close enough.
I mean, I can see it clearly.
Right? Notice how you feel in your body. Is there an increase in sensation or a decrease?
I would say actually a decrease, which is kind of weird.
Okay. So just for a demo's sake, I'm going to draw it back. Tell me when I've gone back far enough. It's going to be an internal stop for you.
I would say stop.
Okay. And now I'm going to ask you intuitively, do you feel like you desire from your body for the ball to go up or to go down?
I would say up a little bit.
Okay. Excellent. Tell me when I'm far enough up.
I would stop. I would come down a little.
Come down. Very nice checking in with
Yeah,
how
right there, right there. And if we may, because of your background, there's something on the door, which is white. I'd like to, it conflicts with the purple, I'm sorry, the blue object. If you can move it over a little bit toward you, like I'm talking like an inch. No, the other way. The other
this
way.
way.
Yeah, there we go. Now it's in a white area, so I can really focus.
Are there any other adjustments that you actually have a small yearning for, a desire for? It'd be in the body.
How do you mean?
You know, when you just feel like something, you just feel like it to be adjusted, or if you're feeling like it feels just right there.
In terms of body?
Yes.
In terms of what I'm feeling physically?
Yes, it's kind of like a little yes in your head, or it's a go to the left a little bit.
I think we're in a good spot there.
Wow. Okay, so I'm going to physically move myself back a little bit so that your vision is clearer.
Mm-hmm.
And now Steve will focus on the ball. And as he's focusing on this blue sphere, the eyes may begin to do something interesting. And normally people will blink it away to clear the vision because they don't want to see that strange little something, like the heat devils on the hood of a car in the summer. You see those. And so the eyes for Technicolor may see a little something different. Now, Steve, I can say from experience, is an audio person. And so he may or may not see some either pixelation, fog, or a doubling of it, or anything that would be strange, a little bit outside of regular vision for the sphere.
Funny you should say that. I want to share. If you saw what I just did, I reached over while I'm staring at the sphere and lowered the volume because I just want it so I have less in my ear and more focus on that.
Great work. I love your intuition to do that. And so as you're just allowing yourself to view, and those who can actually see us on video, their eyes may start to do something interesting. There may be, again, some type of something that if you're blinking, you will be blinking as you're watching, but don't blink away anything a little outside of the ordinary. or what I would call anomalous in your vision. You may go so far as to even see a flame of a certain color come up around the sphere, or you may see something else that defies logic, but your eyes are actually seeing.
Hmm.
And so, Steve, I would just check in with your body. I noticed that you're doing a little bit of nodding, and that is a beautiful thing. That is a settling action that the body does. It can be shaking from side to side or nodding forward. It also, through my work as someone who works with energy, it is also can be the expression of energetics in your neck area. And I believe that you reported to me, Steve, when we started, that you had some tension in the trapezius muscles of your shoulders. And I mentioned that that generally has been the place where we carry the weight of the world very often. And those can be responsibilities. On the right side, it would be responsibilities regarding female entities or persons. On the left side, it could be in regards to a male or masculine entity. And that if you have it bilaterally, it's likely that you're feeling just a lot of responsibility across the board. And as I say that, what do you notice?
In terms of how it feels,
Mhm.
say it's in the center.
Okay, very good. So I'm going to offer you an exercise directly from the somatic experiencing world. And that is a little bit of jaw hinging back and forth, just gently and just slowly. And just notice as you do that, you do it just as long as you feel a little compulsion to do it. And then check in and see what your shoulders feel like after that bit of jaw hinging. That's right. Nice instinct. What do
And
you notice?
continue staring at the object.
Yes, you continue staring at the object. What are you noticing?
Maybe it's the tightness in my traps and shoulders subsiding a little bit. I'm not trying to get out of my head thinking, I should be feeling that. I'm being very genuine here.
Because what happens is if that is not a significant shift enough, we can take an object like a pen and place it back there on one side or the other. That is straight from brain spotting. It's called body spotting. And I call it pinning the area. And sometimes that works, but just check in with yourself, maybe even wiggle around in your body a little bit. Does it feel the same as it did as when we started?
It almost feels like the beginning of a massage where you want it to continue. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes, and that is part of the Technicolor experience in regards to the sphere that you're gazing at. That experience causes the person to feel drawn in and like they just want some more of it.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. And as you notice, you're able to take a little bit more of a breath, which indicates to me that you may be starting to unwind a little bit. I'm just checking in with, when we started, what you notice with your breathing.
Seems deeper without effort.
Very good. So just for demo's sake, and because the listening audience cannot, that are for any of the recordings that happened after our live interview, so that we don't leave open space, just for demo's purposes, that was a little micro demo of just a
Sure.
little feel. And so I'm going to draw this out of your line of sight. And I want to ask you if you notice, as I draw it out of your line of sight, what you notice in the body as I bring it down. And just take it out of your line of vision, any sensations or impressions.
Mhm. So I have slight stomach issues from time to time, usually connected to stress. Yeah, a little more stressful today and yesterday. When you that went away. When you took the object away, I felt that coming back in my stomach a tiny bit. I was like, that was weird.
Very interesting.
Wow.
Yes, yes. And so what I would say for the viewing and listening audience is that if you want to experiment with this at home, you can find a place in your environment. As you can see, as the viewer, that I have lots of things to look at in my office, and I'll tell the listening audience that I have lots of colorful things around in my office that give people a point of reference that they can look at. You should have that also in your environment, either a picture, or you can look out the window at a tree, find a place to stare, notice your body sensations, have a pen or some other object around, and start moving that pen pinned on the place where you may be feeling anxiety or tension. And you will notice that the sensations may increase at one point, but after a while they'll decrease. And you can simply follow body sensations in order to bring on greater peace of mind. And this
Hmm.
is a little gift that I give to the viewing and listening audience anytime they want to do something that's not necessarily a meditation. This has meditative results just by staring and pinning a spot.
So, um, looking at the object, when you said, you might see a flame or something like that, then I thought a little bit more as I'm staring at it, and I really did. Wasn't a flame. It was more of a, I'm trying to describe it. It was almost like not a, sort of like a halo, but a rainbow within the halo, very subdued rainbow. Um, and it was on the left, and sometimes went on the other side, but it was definitely there. It's weird.
Yes, and it is almost hard to put it into words, like you're saying. Yes, some people report a halo, a flame, a sphere of light, and it does move around. If it's a flame, it very often does this.
Didn't
And
do
it
that. Didn't do that. But it was, this is the object. It was on the side, and then it kind of moved over to here. But it had many colors, not like bright Technicolor, but just a little bit something going on there. Like almost like a prism like look. Weird.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yes, and
What is that? What's going on there?
I think it's your deep brain, the mammalian and reptilian brains, those brain parts that are in charge of regulating or activating fight, flight, freeze. My theory is that seeing that light in contrast to your sphere is the deep brain balancing itself. It knows how to sort itself out. And then, of course, neuroscience can prove or disprove. There's been a lot of study on what people are doing when they're doing various things like meditation, prayer, brain spotting, somatic experiencing. And so too, what people are doing when they see Technicolor, although yours was a muted rainbow, it's individual to each person.
Yeah, wild. Thank you. That we're out of time. That was really cool. And I feel
Thank you so
definitely
much.
more relaxed. Like wild. This
Wonderful.
we're just scraping the surface here in terms of what you do, but we've had others on with you, people you've worked with, all virtual. And I always wondered, how can you even do that? I had it done in person, but now I see it. It's about the focus. Your video is great, by the way. So that's very helpful. It's very clear. But wild. How do we find you, Marianne?
Great job, and thank you, Stu. Yes, you can find me at Insight Healing Inc.com. That's insighthealinginc.com. And go ahead and my contact information is there. I'd love to hear from you or answer your questions.
So worth it, so unique. For me, revolutionary. Maybe not for you. This is like in your world, but yeah, hypnotherapy, done it, heard of it. It's great, sure. This is takes it layers deeper. And in my experience here, somewhat instant results where hypnotherapy can take a little bit longer. Wow, Marianne, thank you. Super cool.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
You too. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.